Welcome kindreds, it's Jessica and we are approaching the full moon in Leo, and I thought it would be a nice opportunity to have a little cozy tarot journaling and plan with me. I've got some decks out, I've got my stamps, I've got my Ritual tarot planner, and I'm pretty much ready to go. So if you've got your journal out too, we can do this together, or you can watch me do it and you can do yours at a different time, or if you're not using the Ritual, you can be doing it in your journal. However you want to do it, that is cool. Normally when I'm doing my moon journaling, I like to actually look at the lumination chart, which I've got here. This is my honeycomb planner, which if you watch, you'll know me, you've heard me talk about this before. It's basically like a personalized, fully personalized ephemeris and planet, which is really amazing. But this is the chart for the full moon. It's for the 5th of Feb for me here in the UK. It might be, the timings, and the chart will look a little bit different for you depending on where you are, because this is done from my specific location. So I've got, it's a Virgo rising chart for me, but you might not have that in your chart. If you're in a different location, it will be a different rising sign, but the rest of it will be the same. So it'll only be the rising sign that changes. Well, it'll all change according to where your rising sign is, but this basic shape of what is happening will be the same regardless. And look at what is happening. We've got our sun in Aquarius, which is like the worst place for the sun to be in many ways. It's the coldest house. It's furthest away from the sun's own house, which is in Leo, so the sun is not very happy being in Aquarius. And then we've got the moon in the sun's own sign in Leo here, and again the moon is not so happy in Leo either, because it's just too kind of hot for the moon. The moon is much happier in their own sign of Cancer, so we've got this opposition here, which is what this thick red line is all about. The sun and the moon, that when you have a full moon, the sun and the moon are always opposite each other. Sorry, my laptop's tinging in the background. And then look, we've got this square going on. And if you follow astrology, you will have heard people talk about this, I'm sure. This is called a T-square, because we've got an opposition and then we've got this pointing to a head here, which is pointing at Uranus up here in Taurus. So it's a lot of fixed sign energy going on here for this full moon. We've got this fixed, this fixed. And when we have a T-square, there's always the other part of the square, like in theory, this planet, this sign should be brought in as well. Scorpio should be brought in as well, because that would be including all the fixed energy, but it's not. It's almost like this part of the equation is kind of like missing in some respects, but sometimes this can kind of help to resolve the tension of a fixed square. So we've got our sun and moon here, like I said, in Aquarius, which is like kind of electrical energy, air energy. It's like fast thinking, community, that kind of vibe. And then we've got Leo, which is more like kind of personal fun, and like, what do I enjoy and what's special about me kind of thing, so that's why that's kind of an opposition, those two planets. And from a medical astrology perspective, then Leo is to do with the heart, our kind of heart center, our joy, and like our physical heart and health. And then Aquarius is more to do with the electrical systems in the body and like the ankles as well. But yeah, very much to do with like electrical signaling, nerves and things as well. And then we've got Taurus, which is fixed earth, so it's a lovely kind of like solid sign. But the planet that they are squaring in Taurus is this Uranus, and Uranus is very much more like, people see it as the modern ruler of Aquarius, because it is that kind of electrical change energy, so having that Taurus, that Uranus in Taurus is disrupting the earth. It's almost like the earth is being like plowed up and churned up, and so instead of it being we do need to turn the earth, don't we, to bring some air into the earth to plant things, but it also doesn't it can be disruptive as well, and Taurus is also about like ruling the throat and that kind of bottom part of the face and the neck. And it's opposite Scorpio, which is to do with excretion and getting rid of things. And I think that might be like what is kind of missing, like I was talking about in this T-square here, is that Scorpio energy of being able to let things go, releasing things. And I think that, yeah, so the prompts that are in the ritual talk about releasing a little bit anyway. So I'm going to be thinking a little bit about that Scorpio when I work with these prompts, I'm not going to directly change them to be like specific to this specific Leo moon, or to a Leo and Leo moon in general. But I am going to kind of have that in mind. You know, we've got this kind of Aquarius Leo axis, that kind of self and community push-pull kind of thing going on. And I'm going to be mindful of that when I'm answering these prompts, if that makes sense. So I'm going to answer the same questions, but I'm going to be keeping that idea in the back of my mind. And also when it's talking about the kind of releasing, I'm going to be thinking about this Scorpio, this fixed water. And like, you know, Scorpio often associated with shadow and with shadow work. And that's something that has been coming up for me as I've been journaling. We're only on the 1st at the moment. I haven't done that yet. As I'm doing this, I did have a little try to use some watercolor because I just thought, you know, these pages are a little bit boring. Let me find you a plain one. They're not boring, they're pretty, but I just wanted to add a little bit of color, and I ended up kind of making a little bit of a mess. So if you're wondering if your ritual planner can take watercolor, the answer is no. So they look like these, and you know, they're pretty, they've got these gorgeous graphics and everything on them, but I just was like, oh, I just want to add a little bit of something. So I did, but then it's made it kind of go all wrinkly, and it also bled through to this side. And I was so careful. I used just the tiniest amount, and I used like watercolor pencils, not like pastels, almost more rather than pencils, rather than like paints, because I thought that would be better, but it didn't quite it didn't quite work out how I hoped, but you know, there we go. But yeah, I've been finding with my draws for this month and like the cards that came up for me for February, that shadow work is definitely something that I need to be looking into. So that makes a lot of sense with me with that Scorpio in the bottom of that T-square to kind of resolve that T-square. So anyway, let's stop jabbering on and I'll show you what else I'm going to use to do this. So I've chosen what I'm finding my tarot practice has changed since I've been using this ritual planner, and like in most ways that's good. And I'm making some notes because I think I'll make like a video of like how my tarot practice has changed whilst using, you know, because of using this planner. But what I'm finding is I'm liking to, I didn't always change my deck every week. I wouldn't always just take a new deck each week. I would just kind of keep a few decks down that I was using at that moment in, you know, like over those weeks, and I just dip into them as and when I wanted to. But what I'm finding is because I'm making like these notes, these weekly draws, is each week I want to choose a different deck and use a different deck for the whole week, and then the next week use a different deck, if that makes sense. I'm also finding I'm not using my oracle decks as much, so I think I'm going to start using oracle to pull the energy for the whole week, because I'm getting very tarot heavy in my practice, which is fine, but then I'm kind of like, I'm not using my oracle decks as much as I would like to be. So I pulled 4, basically what I'm getting around to saying is that I've taken 4 tarot decks out to use this month. I'm going to use my Wee Moon Tarot, which I haven't used at all yet. I'm still kind of learning this deck and connecting to it, going through it in order. I haven't even shuffled this yet. So that I'm going to use for 1 week this month. You know, in this moon cycle between the full moon and the next full moon. And I'm going to use another new deck, which is unusual for me, but because I've been doing a lot more tarot, because I've got this planner now, and like I did a lot of tarot before, so so that's saying something. But I think just having that structure of it has been really helpful for me. I'm going to use another new deck as well. I'm going to use this Darkwood Tarot by Sasha Graham. So I shared flip-throughs, not real proper flip-throughs, but kind of flip-throughs of these in a recent video. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the like, I don't know, but I'll link it in the description anyway. I think it was like crafty items, crafty journaling items. It was basically like a kind of little haul video, and I showed those. So I'm going to use those 2 new decks, and I thought, right, I don't want to be using any other new decks, so I'm going to also use my Celestial Tarot, which I've got in this little bag. Yeah, I got the box down there to show you. This is the box. I did a full walkthrough of this years ago now. And it's like, I was kind of a little bit put off it originally because it's a little bit like, I felt like I needed to know all of the stories, and I know lots of these stories behind the astrology that's like in these, but if you notice, they've got like Argo, you know, Jupiter, Pegasus. It's got a lot of celestial connections with these cards, and I felt like because I didn't know them all in depth, they kind of put me off using this deck too much. But I just kind of like got on with using it. And like it tells you, even though this book is tiny, it tells you what all of those stories are for the different things that are noted on the cards. So it's completely fine. And it actually reads quite intuitively as well. I think like it's a little bit pippish, I guess, because the pictures, they're not like pictures of people necessarily doing stuff. They kind of are. Let me show you a few more so you can see. But when you get the story as well, it really helps to get good readings from it. So yeah, I'm going to use that one because that's one of my like more known, and I probably use that, I think, to do part of this this as well. And then I've got one that I was going to get rid of, but which I've now kept hold of, and I'm going to try again with it this month, which is my Gorgon's Tarot, which I love. This deck is gorgeous, but it's just massive. And I know they did apparently bring out a smaller version of this, and I tried to buy the smaller version, and then when it came, it was another one of the big one. So somehow, I don't know what happened there, but yeah, it's not the thing. And so, like, you know, I love the imagery actually, and I think it's really powerful. And the information book is it's not massive, but it's good. It's got like a kind of heavy feminist goddess slant to it, this deck, which I appreciate a lot. And it's kind of like an animal deck as well in lots of ways. There's animals woven into it as well, which I enjoy. But it is just so big. It's so hard to shuffle because it's big and it's round, and so you can't even like, you can't really like do a lot with it. In terms of shuffling it, I never really know what to do. I'm like, oh, how do I even go about this, you know? So you can't really like riffle it because there's nothing to like get a handle on. So I end up just like trying to shuffle it like this kind of thing. Look, you can see, and maybe it's not going to work for me, I don't know. I got it out and thought, let me try again with it, but it's just so frustrating. Yeah. And it's such a shame because it's lovely. If it was just like that little bit smaller, that you could overhand shuffle it, okay. And like you can obviously like put it down on the floor and kind of moosh it all around everywhere and do it like that. So, you know, there's that. But I'm going to try again with this in this moon cycle. And I've also pulled a couple of oracle decks out as well. I've been using this one, which is, what is it called again? I've got the box here. Plant Ally Cards by Lisa McLaughlin. I had a couple of her decks. I actually moved one of them on, but I kept the plant and the tree ally cards because look, they're so beautiful, really lovely. I just like the art of them, I think, and they just look lovely, don't they? And they go so well with lots of other decks as well when they pull in. Oh look, I pulled out Yarrow now here. You're developing a natural understanding of boundaries, your own and others. And I love that when it's plants, I know, because there are some of them that I know less in here, because there's a lot of cards. How many are there? There's quite a few. 55, yeah. So it's a lot of cards for a plant deck. But that's nice, isn't it? More to work with. And there's no book because like the information's on the back of them. So I've got those, and I've also got my animal spirit, the Wild Unknown Animal Spirit oracle out as well to use. Yeah, which I forget about this deck. So that's the good thing about kind of planning out which decks I'm going to use and sharing it. It helps me to like be more intentional about it, be like, okay, I haven't used that deck for a while, I'm going to get that one out and use it. So yes, I think I'm going to use my Celestial to pull this. Let me hang on, because I put this back in here now, and have I got the cards? Oh no, they're in here. Like when they put those couple of cards and if you forget to take them out and then you end up having them in your spread, you're like, oh, that was not what I wanted. So I've shuffled these pretty recently because I've been I used them for, what did I use them for? I got them out yesterday and used them not for yesterday's spread, but for something. Can't remember now. But I used them, I read with them yesterday, so they've had a good shuffle. yeah, I'm going to use it. So it's 6 cards. Ooh. And the prompts are quite straightforward. It's like, where am I right now? What is influencing me? What have I created since the last new moon? What is no longer serving me? How can I let go and release this energy? It's so tight on this desk. Struggling for space. But it's nice, it's cozy. Okay. Right, so where am I right now? 9 of Pentacles. That card's been coming up for me a little bit more. This used to be like my stalker card, but is not so much in recent years. So it's fun when this kind of card comes back out, the 9 of Pentacles. Not this particular 9 of Pentacles, but the sort of regular 9 of Pentacles in whatever deck. What is influencing me? Fixed air. Look, interesting. So Aquarius. Fixed air at this time. The Queen of Swords, you know, it's got that Aquarian energy. That's so funny, isn't it, how that's come up now. And like if you notice, this is a 9 of Pentacles, and it's the story of I never know how to say it. It's Boots is the constellation, and it's Demeter's son who invented the plow, I think, if I'm remembering the story. And look, it's Virgo and Venus, which is Virgo is rising in my lunation chart for this, so you know, that makes a lot of sense as well with the chart. And then we've got Aquarius there, so it'll be interesting to see if we get some Leo as well. We got more Virgo. We've got the Hermit. Let me move that back a little bit. And what have I created since the last full moon? I've created a little bit of hermity type vibe by the seams of it. I have definitely been introspective and stuff, so I'll fill these in a second anyway. What is no longer serving me? Okay, so I've got the 8 of Pentacles, so I'm kind of moving away from that 9 to the 8 for what is no longer serving me, what I need to let go of. And like 8 of Pentacles a lot is, you know, it's got Saturn on here. It's about kind of like hard work, isn't it? You know, like 9 is about hard work, but it's more about like seeing the fruits of that hard work, whereas sometimes the 8 is more about like more practice. How can I let go and release that energy? And I've got the Chariot. Okay, so Cancer. So the ruler, you know, the sign of the moon, which isn't there's nothing much going on in Cancer here. Like I've got a little thing here because I've got the asteroids on this chart, but I'm not going to take them into consideration for the reading for this moon at all. But it's got that, it's that lunar energy, isn't it? So how can I let go is probably to more lean into more of the moon rather than into the sun energy, perhaps, maybe. Obviously the Chariot kind of things as well, of like kind of finding that in between. And then 3 of Swords, what can I learn during the cycle? So I hate when I pull the 3 of Swords, and I pull it a lot these last couple of years. There's a lot of like, since all the COVID stuff really, it's been coming out for me much more often. But it's not just that, it's like the kind of personal grief and heartbreak as well, and kind of finding ways of dealing with that. So that's my cards. Let's pop that to one side and let me get my stamps out, and I'll show you how I've been using them. I totally stole a brilliant idea from one of the kindreds in the Circle of Kindreds over on Facebook, and she was using her stamps in different colors to show the different elemental energies. So I've got a few different colors. I'm using red for wands, I'm using gold for the majors, I'm using this kind of like yellowy gold because I didn't like the really bright yellow for earth energy, and no, for swords, sorry. And then I'm using this green for earth, although it is a bit too luminous really. But then I didn't really like the really dark, like kind of race. The other one I've got is kind of like a racing green, and I wasn't fully loving that either. And I should probably buy some more ink pads. But I had these, you know, so it's good to use the ones that you've got as well, isn't it? And I've got this blue, which is really pretty, but it's a bit pale for the cups. And then I've got this little stamping block here, which was in a set. Can I get that now? No, not easily. It was in a set with a few different sizes quite cheaply off Amazon that I've had for a while. You know, you get some big ones, and then this is, I think this is the smallest one. But this is the one that seems to work well for my stamps. So I'm going to actually move them here. I bought recently, I wonder if I can show you this without dropping all the cards out of it. off a seller on Etsy, this like card holder, and I had to put Jessica and the Moon on it. And now I can put my Weaver, so there's like a few different slots, and I've got my Weaver card in the back slot, and then my monthly cards here. And I need to change these over actually because we're into February now, so I need to change them over to my February cards. And then like my energy for the week cards. And when I'm pulling my daily cards, I'm putting those in the front, and I'm finding that is really cool because I'm keeping them there like all stacked up together. Yeah, I'm loving it. It's just much more organized. Before I had them in lots of like different card holders or like just propped up against things and stuff, and I'm loving how that is giving me like connections with the cards for the month as well, which is really cool. I'm finding my 3 monthly cards, when they layered up with my 3 daily cards, are like giving me interesting connections. So yeah, that's kind of fun. Bit of a side there. Going off on a tangent. Okay, so let's try and stamp these in whilst keeping them all visible as well. So where am I at right now? So I need my pentacles. So I'm going to take my pentacle stamp and stick it on my little block. And then I'm using this not very nice green for my pentacles. And you can, like if you haven't got ink blocks, you can just use pens to colour on top of the stamps, and that works really well as well. And I've also got 8 of Pentacles there, so I'm going to stamp that in too. And I should have done them both either low or high, because now I need to write the number on, and the one is going to need to go underneath and one's going to go above, which is going to be a little bit annoying, but these things tend to happen, especially when I'm trying to chat while I'm while I'm journaling. But it is nice to do it together as well. So okay, so swords, I've got my swords here because I've got my Queen of Swords and my 3 of Swords, so lots of air energy going on here. So my Queen of Swords is here. I think I'm going to write them underneath, so I'll put it there. I sometimes write them above, sometimes write them under. And then my 3 of Swords was the last one. Let's stick that there. So yeah, I like how using the colours makes it really clear straight off that what is used. Because look, I'm not going to use my fire and water. So that's, yeah, so there's no wands and no cups, so no fire and water elements in this spread, in the, you know, yeah, in what's come out here. So I've got just mages, pentacles and swords. So I just got air, earth and mages. So isn't that interesting? And you can see that at a glance then with it. Okay, that's my Hermit. And I need my Chariot, which is here. So it's a little bit fiddly, but it does look nicer, I think, than doing it with the, you know, with just like kind of writing it in. So like the ultimate effect of it, I think, is nicer than doing it like that. So I can pop those away and pop these. These were just cheap ones off Amazon, so I'll try and remember to link them in the description. And they've got really lovely ones that they do from Writual, which are a little bit smaller, and I think fit in the boxes easier for you to write them on, but they are quite pricey. So but if you do want to buy them, I've got a 50% discount, so I'll link that in the drop down box as well. But if, you know, budget is an issue, then those ones on Amazon, they work completely fine. So okay, so 9 of Pentacles, and then Queen of Swords. We've got the Hermit, then we've got the 8. I don't know why I'm writing the numbers out rather than just putting the actual digit. I could have done that, couldn't I? I'm really awkward as well how I'm writing, so I'm not sure how that's going to pan out, but we will see. Okay, so where am I at right now is this 9 of Pentacles. So I tend to write it out again, and if I'm using a deck, which often happens, which has got a different association like this one here, then I'll write that as well. So I'll write 9 Pentacles / boots, and then I'll write my interpretation of it, which, you know, like I said, is that idea of kind of like seeing the fruit of your labour, but like still putting effort in, to reap results, to get rewards of your labor. Let's read what it says in the guidebook for it, so you can get a feel for what is in here as well. Pentacles. Yeah, here we go. So 9 of Pentacles. Boots has been known as the hunter, driver of oxen, herdsman. So it's definitely that, a lot of that Taurus, like with the oxen as well. And like when I was talking about how that, I talked about ploughing, didn't I? Isn't that funny? About this earth being kind of dug up with this Uranus in Taurus. And that is where I am right now, digging up the earth. And it kind of connects in with our seed as well, with our woman rune seed for this month. Where am I at? I've lost it now. Okay, here. Celestial, the constellation. Oh, so I didn't finish reading it. Driver of oxen, herdsman. I interrupted myself. Herdsman or farmer, emblematic of civilization and cultivation. Celestially, the constellation follows the bears around the North Pole, linked with their myth through archers, one of many who have been associated with the constellation. As the son of Demeter, the agricultural goddess Boots won his mother's approval through inventing the plough, giving mankind the ability to cultivate and make the earth fruitful. The card symbolises the transition to fertility and prosperity through Boots, the archetypal worker who takes pleasure in the fruits of his labours. So it's that idea of like taking pleasure in your work, and I definitely am finding that at the moment. Yeah, so much, because I feel like it's fruitful. And yeah, you know, that's another word that came up as well. It's like, I feel like I'm helping people, and I've been really pleased with like some of the videos I've been making, and yeah, it just feels good. And like creating the memberships and the circle, I feel like I am, you know, I am planting good things. That's what it feels like at the moment, which feels really awkward to say actually, because you know, we're not supposed to be like, yeah, I feel like I'm doing good stuff. But yeah, it's interesting. Let's just compare that with the what is no longer serving me. So I'm going to write that 8 of Pentacles in, which is Centaurus. Let's see what that says, being as we're already here as well with the Pentacles, and those cards kind of like, you can lay these cards underneath each other as well and see that kind of like, where am I right now? What is no longer serving me? What is influencing me? How can I let go? They kind of map for me onto each other as well. So the 8 of Pentacles, Centaurus. With the 8 of Pentacles, we enter the sphere of the wise and humble centaur, whose name means hand. Unlike other centaurs, Chiron's instinctual side was channeled into being masterful and handy. Recognized as a teacher of the ancient wisdom and a natural healer, Chiron taught his apprentices the sacred heroic arts with great respect for the traditions of the earth. Through attention to detail, persistence and dedication to his craft, the hero learned to engage the soul through work. When this card appears, the individual is apprenticing, called by an inner voice to apply their skill and talent to a soulful vocation. So that's interesting, you know, that is no longer serving me. But I feel like what came first of all was that idea of like practicing. It's almost that I've moved into the stage more now of more of a doing, more of a fruitful, it's that step from the 8 to the 9, isn't it? The 8 is like honing your skills, and then the 9 is then when you can kind of see the fruits of those skills, and the 10 obviously even more so, you know, where you're actually harvesting. I suppose the 9 is more when you're like, yes, I know how to do this now and I'm doing it. But I know for sure, like, you know, when we talk about Chiron as well, being the like wounded healer, I have definitely got stuff, and like friends pick me up on this sometimes as well. It's like, I want my work to be really helpful and really useful and practical, those very like pentacle type stuff. And I find it hard to lean into that more like Leo kind of fun and just like, and there's nothing wrong with those just Leo like entertainment value things as well. Like I made a video recently and I was like, I'm not sure if this is useful, and like a friend pointed out, is like, what is your definition of useful? Because like if people are enjoying it and getting something out of it, then just because you haven't taught like a practical skill in this video, then that doesn't render it useless. And so I think that's what it is about. It's about letting go of that idea that I have to always be like giving like practical, useful, actionable steps in my videos. And it's fine to share more, I suppose, more like this, where I'm just kind of showing how I'm doing something in the hope that it's like kind of going to inspire other people to find their own ways of doing it, you know, that kind of thing. So I've got to now kind of find a way of saying that fits into those 3 lines, which I'll do in a moment actually. But yeah, let's have a look at the spread as a whole. So we've got those 2 majors there as well. So what have I created since the last new moon? And we've got the Hermit here. And what I've created is kind of like, because I've created the memberships, I feel like it might be to do with that. It's like I've created a space for people to, it's not necessarily like, oh, have I put those, oh, I'm just putting them the wrong way around, which is confusing me now. Okay, that's fine. It's like I've created this space for people to be able to work on things, but it's not like so public as it is on public YouTube, you know, on like main YouTube kind of thing. And that's what I wanted. I wanted this like this kind of more safe and smaller space, I guess, you know, where people can do that. So I feel like that's definitely something I've created since the last new moon. That's why I was really excited about it. It feels like the new moon was only very recently. I've also been working on figuring out my own needs as far as like journaling and stuff goes as well. I'm still working out. It's like I identified the 5 different use cases for journaling, and now I'm like, okay, so which are the best tools to serve me in each of those 5 use cases? I'm going to make another video about that, so I won't go on too much about that, but I feel like those are the 2 major things that are coming out for me in connection to that. And it's so much like harvesty stuff, you know. We've got Virgo, we've got Boots, we've got the 8 of Pentacles there as well. It's like, it's a lot of this earthy energy. And then we've got this fixed air. What is influencing me? The Queen of Swords. Like the Queen of Swords is always influencing me with, I've got quite a lot of it here in my chart, and I'm not Aquarius though, so much, but that kind of idea of rationality and practicality and intellect, I suppose, as well, you know, is that kind of the kind of vibe. Let's see what it says in there, because this might be relevant, I think, for lots of us at this moment, because you know, we have got the full moon in Leo, so we are looking at Aquarius as well, because we are in that opposition, you know, between Leo and Aquarius. Let's find it. We're into Swords. The Queen of Swords, characteristic of the temperament of the fixed air sign Aquarius, the attributes of, yeah, so this is good to read because this is going to make sense. The attributes of idealism, egalitarianism, and humanitarianism. The Queen of Swords embraces the spirit of the water bearer, encouraging the individual who has drawn the card to aspire to become more conscious of human values and spiritual ideals. Strengthened by her own ideals, the Queen uses her critical faculty and intelligence to understand life and make wise choices. However, when the Queen is embodied, she may appear disengaged and separate from emotional entanglements. When the card appears, the individual is counselled to use discrimination and detachment to read the situation at hand more clearly. Interesting. Okay, so that idea of influencing me is that idea of like kind of ideals, human values, and kind of bringing a way in, like that's what I've been doing a lot of on my channel in general, but also more so recently emphasize on like things like goal setting and stuff, which is often like seen as very practical and not very witchy, not very magical, but which I really feel like is so valuable and so useful. It's not like it's an either or, and that's what, like, we get that with the moons, and we've got our Leo and Aquarius push pull, but it's not like we want Leo or we want Aquarius. They're both there, and that is what it is with the goals and the magical connection as well, you know. But yeah, I'm mindful that it reminded about that kind of embodiedness as well, and I need to stay mindful that I don't like disconnect from the emotional side, which is interesting to say. What can I learn? And then I've got that other Swords card coming up there in what can I learn, because that will probably bring something to bear. And look, it says Corona, which is crown. Corona, okay. In the Celestial Tarot, the ancient northern constellation of the Corona Borealis, the crown of Ariadne, represents the 3 of Swords. Ariadne betrayed her family to help her lover Theseus, but her heart was broken when he abandoned her. In the midst of her deepest grief, her true soulmate, the god Dionysus, materialize to crown her. While a painful separation has occurred, Ariadne finds reconciliation through mourning. When this card appears, it suggests that love and loss are intertwined, and to experience true love, loss and grief must also be acknowledged. Okay, that's really hard hitting for me. Yeah. Okay, wow. So it is that whole, and like, I really do feel like we're in that time now where we are combining loss of the whole, like, things that we're used to. Like, I don't know if this is all over the world. I feel like it is, but like in the UK at the moment, we're having like a huge cost of living crisis, and the energy prices have gone through the roof, and everything's a bit like, it definitely feels like the whole world order is crumbling at the moment. And that is definitely a sense of loss and grief, because it's hard, isn't it, when things end. Endings are hard because it reminds us of our own mortality, I guess, you know. And then, but it's all part of that, isn't it? And then through that grieving, because we feel that grief, we can also realize, but there's other ways. There are other ways that we can have ways of connecting and being that are meaningful and useful. And yeah, that's given me an awful lot to think about. So I'm definitely going to want to journal a bit more about that as well. That is the only thing I do find, is when I was doing this in my just in my notebook journal, I could take as much space as I wanted, whereas now I'm like kind of keeping it in, although I do end up kind of sometimes spilling around the page a little bit more. And I'm not finding these pages so useful. I will try and fill it in, but I'm not finding that's really working for me so much. I was even thinking I might pull, if you're finding the same, just as an idea, I might just pull cards for some of these things, because you could easily like pull cards, like 2 cards for something to release, or 3 cards for something to release, a card for something to celebrate, you know, that kind of thing. And so I might kind of do it as an extended spread really for this time. I'm still kind of finding my way with that, because I'm finding that I'm just kind of writing random stuff down, and I don't want to just be filling the boxes in because the boxes are there, if you see what I mean. If you've got the planner, let me know how you're finding it and how you're finding these like pre-planned boxes, because yeah, I'm loving it in general. I'm finding it really, really good, but there are some bits about it that I'm like, that bit's not quite working for me, and I obviously want it to work for me. So yeah, I'm doing those tweaks. Anyway, I feel like I've kind of rambled on for long enough now, so I'm going to call it a day, and I'll finish filling in my my spread and everything. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Let me know how you're getting on with this Leo new moon. Warmest blessings, and I'll see you very soon.